Debórah Benton, welcome to Living on Music, my dear.
Thank you so much, Stephen Hoke. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm so happy you're here. And again, several reasons. I love when I do these shows and looking into where these wonderful people like you are going and what you've done for yourself in a lot of ways and how you've built yourself into not only Valley Gold with Debórah, which is a wonderful self-produced, right, hosted TV talk show. We'll talk about how you began that, but also Deja Vu, the Dionne Warwick tribute, which frankly, Debórah, I mean, my parents had three or four Dionne Warwick albums when I was in the 60s growing up, and that music just embedded into my soul. So there's somebody that is doing this, and the first Warwick tribute artist anywhere, is that true?
The first and only.
Oh, that's
I'm so happy to say.
what a huge goal. Well, we'll also talk a little bit about how you ended up, doing that with Dionne or wanting to do that, covering Dionne. Talk a little bit about how Debórah Benton got this Valley Gold television show going. I know you started doing it a little bit at home, and then boom. Talk a little bit about what the motivation was to do something on television and how you got to that.
Sure. Well, I got my degree in communications. I graduated with bachelor's from Bowling Green State University back
Okay.
when dinosaurs ruled the earth. Don't you ask me when. So, and I love the work. I love producing, and I always envisioned everybody else in front of the camera. Just never thought of myself in front of the camera.
Oh,
But the problem was, I was always trying to put people in front of the camera, whether they wanted to go or not.
right.
So that, and what the way it would work out is, I guess initially, as I was working with people who were public figures, politicians, entertainers, pretty much the gamut. And I was always seeing these wonderful things about their personality. And so I would
Right.
craft a whole show behind it, And
Wow.
initially, they would be enamored by the idea, but if that's not what's really in you, you're not going to stick with it. And so each time it would kind of fall through. And finally, one day, my husband and my daughter, they were looking at me and like, you need to do this yourself. You keep
Oh,
trying to put everybody else in front of the camera. So I thought about it and I said, you know what? I'm going to pray about it. And I did. And I started purchasing one piece of equipment at a time as I got different contracts to produce, whether it was content or PR, whatever, for other people.
right.
I got enough equipment when I got my 3 cameras, teleprompter, lights, audio system in my living room, my 12 by 17 living room.
Right.
And I started grabbing people off the street. I could go to the grocery store. Steve, if I ran into you in the store and you had an interesting story, you were coming to my house.
Oh,
And it was so crazy because when I started, this was when fax machines, you plugged them into the wall with I forget what the cable is called, but
right.
and it had the thermal paper in it. So we had a fax machine plugged in and different things around the house. Well, I would have to go around my entire house putting signs up on all the doors, telling people don't knock because I'm recording.
Right.
And so it was crazy. But I would literally run into people in the grocery store or wherever and chit chat and find out that, I felt they had an interesting story. And the thing about doing the interviews was I have found stories to be life-saving, life-changing. When you encounter somebody and you listen to their story and you find out, oh, they had challenges. They didn't just get there overnight.
Can you give
They
us the background on maybe one story or something that you remember?
Sure,
I'm sure there was
sure.
many of them.
Oh yeah, there's many, but I'm sure I can think of. For example, I'll use one of the Temptations. Glenn Leonard, who was a member of the Temptations. He's the one. A lot of people think it's Eddie Kendricks that does the Silent Night, the
Right.
high voice, but it's actually Glenn.
Oh,
And so Glenn had been in love with music for all of his life. He saw himself as a temptation, but it didn't happen quickly. And it was years and years of just practicing and honing his craft and putting himself out there. and hoping that someday somebody would. And finally, he got his opportunity, but it wasn't an easy thing. And so when he finally got a shot, I'll never forget, he told him to get him a ticket and make it one way.
Really?
And the rest is history. But actually, most of the entertainers that I've interviewed, their story is so similar in that, they weren't born into this. And it was through a lot of heartbreak, trial and error that they finally got an opportunity to get where they wanted to go. And so
Right.
what I find is whatever it is you want to do, it's not necessarily going to be easy. Nobody's going to pluck you up and put you there. But those stories, when you find out about other people's hardships, some of these folks, they lived in their cars for a while. They went without food. Even myself, I can remember living off of Sultana peanut butter. And if you've ever had Sultana peanut butter, your heart will go out to me. That has got to be the worst cement filler you could
Oh
ever
my
have.
gosh.
But it's one of those things where you do what you need to do. You make those sacrifices because you believe in yourself.
Sure.
And you realize that if you're going to do this, you got to be serious about it, and you got to take yourself seriously, and you got to stick it out, because one thing about it is if you quit, you won't get there.
Right. Now that show has been going for 20 years,
Yeah,
right?
actually, this will be 20 years. It started January of 2005.
There you go. So boom, the 20 years. Where can people see that now if they want to watch it?
So yeah, it comes on weekly on broadcast TV on what's referred to as or called the what is it, My TV network.
Okay.
It's one of the newer networks. And
Right.
so it's on locally on the My TV network, but you can also pick it up online. I was on Roku for a while. They changed their model in terms of the independent producers that were airing. They changed their technical portion altogether. So
Right.
I've got to acclimate myself to that and then get back in. But in the meantime, you can watch it on my website, which is Debórah is the show, or you can watch it on my YouTube channel, which is Valley Gold with Debórah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'll be sharing where people can find that, because that is a wonderful, wonderful part of this. So it was about 5 years ago, maybe around 6 years ago, pre-pandemic. I'm gonna ask you, like I've asked every musician since I started the Zoom, how you dealt with that. But 2019, I love the looking back at some of the research, and it says, after years of producing behind the camera and hosting this wonderful show, your singing part of yourself wanted to do something. How did this erupt into this amazing Deja Vu Dionne Warwick tribute?
Okay, so I love this story, and it's true. I grew up singing. I
Yes.
sang in church. I sang with bands. You know, I did that up through my teen years.
What was the influence early, just real quick on Debórah when you were little, your musical influences?
My musical influences, actually, they were the first. Well, the primary one actually was always Dionne Warwick. I
Oh,
was introduced to her music when I was about 8 years old. Yeah, 8 years old. We had
fantastic.
one album in the house. And when I tell you, I immersed myself in that album. Songs on it was April Fools,
Oh,
People, it was all the just beautiful stuff. And as a 8 year old kid, Valley of the Dolls, oh my goodness, I could have gotten myself drunk off of that song. Loved it. I just love the music. And so I would, I'm the youngest of six siblings, while
oh,
everybody else was doing whatever they were doing, I was sitting listening to Dionne.
really?
Now, funny thing is, prior to Dionne, I was listening to Tom Jones, and because these were the records we had in the house. Not
Yes.
a too old to be loved by him.
That's what my folks had. We listened to Tom Jones as well. I
And
just saw
what
him last
was
summer.
that?
And
Well, yep, that was. So Tom Jones, we had a Mary Poppins album, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
even when you come, yes,
We
really
had
quite
that, and
emotions.
we had Lou Rawls and Edie
Yeah.
Gordet. And so, as a 5 year old child, I was singing baritone because that's what Lou Rawls sang.
Right.
So,
Wow, a
uh,
5-year-old girl singing baritone.
Yeah, I really was. And people,
Fabulous.
and I'll play around with some of those voices now. My husband doesn't like me to do that because sometimes it doesn't sound like it's a woman.
Oh, right. And
but
this was all in Youngstown, Ohio, right?
yes, all in Youngstown.
Great.
But I do have fun with it. So got introduced to Dionne at about 8 years old. And when I was singing in like just normal voice, people always told me from that early age, oh, you sound just like Dionne Warwick. Well, what better compliment could I get, right?
Really?
And yeah, and it was a great fit for
Wonderful.
me because I love the music. So that kind of continued. But the way that I ended up doing what I'm doing now, I
Right.
actually had gotten away from singing. I was just putting everybody else, showcasing everyone else, and really kind of just stand in the background. But the funny thing was, you know how you can think you're just keeping everything close and nobody knows.
Sure.
Are you familiar with the Whispers?
Yes. That
Okay,
sounds,
so they're good friends of ours, and they've done my show a few times. And they
oh,
kind of outed me, and when they did it, I didn't like it. They every now and then they would make a comment about, we know Debórah wants to sing, and I would get the feedback, and I'm not saying, well, why are they saying that? And they said, because you're always finding an opportunity to do it. Well, I didn't realize that I was so obvious. Here's the kinds of stuff I would do would be like, if I've got a guest coming on the show, I would create a musical opening in which I was singing just a tad bit, maybe one line or a couple lines in the
oh,
opening song. So,
perfect.
but I thought
I
I
love
thought I was
that.
still being pretty much incognito. So finally, what happened? January of 2019, I decided, Lord, I want you to open up doors for me to be able to sing because that's what I really want to do. So
Right.
I just was praying about it. Didn't tell my husband, didn't tell nobody, just talking to the Lord about it.
Okay.
September, so that was January, and I just continued to pray. September of 2019, I get a call from GC Cameron. You know who he is?
Sounds familiar. Yes.
It's a shame.
Oh.
You mess around. That's GC Cameron. And he
Oh.
also did It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday in the movie Cooley High.
Oh, wow.
He calls me out of the blue. He had done my show in the past. He calls me and he says, Debórah, I was thinking, you need to do a Dionne Warwick project. Well, be still my heart. I'm
Oh,
like, why is he saying this? He went on to explain to me, because he had heard me. I did a little thing with him, again, just a little thing with him when he came and did my show. He told me that I sounded more like Dionne Warwick. He said he's been all over the world with the Spinners and the Temptations. He said, nobody sounds more like her than I do.
oh my
Well,
God.
listen, he didn't have to twist my arm or put a bullet to my head. That's
No.
all I needed to hear. So I started working on it. And the rest is kind of history. 2020 came along, everything shut down, but I was okay because by this time I've got equipment in my house and I'm practicing my face off singing.
Right.
Just and so by the time we came out of the pandemic, some opportunities start to come up and I just worked on it more and more. And so now here we are.
Oh my gosh. And you pretty much were just, you were kind of working but largely by
Yeah.
yourself to kind
Yeah,
of build
nobody was
this.
calling me saying, will you come and sing? Listen, here's a funny story. As a matter of fact, like I said, when I was in school, I sang. In high school, and everybody knew that I sang when I was in high school.
Right.
Fast forward a few years ago, I'm sitting with my high school classmates as we are planning a class reunion. And it's about 20 of us at a restaurant. We put all the tables together.
Right.
And so everybody that they had planned for the entertainment, something came up and they dropped out. And they're going, well, we need somebody who can sing. So I'm sitting at the end of the table and I do this. I can, me. And my class president, who is a close, dear friend of mine, she looked at me and she said, girl, quit playing. Ain't nobody listening to you. And
Oh,
I said, no, really, I can't. And she said, would you stop playing? You can't sing. And then everybody at the table is going, quit playing. We're serious. And I'm going, no, really, I can't. And they're going, no, you can't quit playing. Finally, somebody at the other extreme end of the table, she goes, uh, I do remember something about you
oh,
singing. So, class president, she says, okay, we're going to let you do this and you better not mess up.
oh God. That is spectacular.
I had a ball. I had an absolute ball. I sang and they chimed in and joined in with me. Some of the classmates got up and were my background doo-wop backups, and we just had a ball. And so I haven't looked back.
Oh my gosh, that is spectacular. The one thing that I told you pre-show that I had found out about Dionne Warwick is that we both went to the same college,
You're kidding.
the University of Hartford.
Really?
I had no idea. Even when I was there, I don't think I knew that. And then for the last, again, I graduated 40 years ago, and I graduated from Boston University because I transferred out of there. But she was at the Hart College of Music, which was at
Wow.
University of Hartford,
Well,
and I'm
didn't
like,
she have her
ah,
PhD? I don't
what's
know
that?
if that's where she earned her PhD, but she got her PhD in music.
Yes, and I believe that's where. But anyway, that those little facts are amazing. Tell me a little bit about where the Deja Vu part of you has gone since you started. Have you been? I know that 2024 was the debut performance.
Yes, actually, May the 1st, 2024, I performed at the DeYor Performing Arts Center.
How did
So,
that
but
feel?
huh?
How
What
did
you say?
that feel for you?
It was absolutely amazing. I'll tell you what I did. I
Please.
wasn't thoroughly confident to pull it off on my own, so I thought, what better voice to bring in with this concert? You ready for this? Because I'm creative this way. Was Lou Rawls.
Oh,
I found a Lou Rawls tribute artist that would just blow your mind. He was out of Atlanta,
yeah.
and so
I think I saw some ads about her, some posters, and I'm like, wait a minute,
yes,
Lou Roll,
Leonard
unbelievable.
Julian, yes. And he was just everything I could have wanted him to be. He was already very much more proficient on stage than I was. He's been performing on stages. He toured with Peebo Bryson and a number of others. As a matter of fact, the Temptations movie,
Yeah.
uh, he actually does all the David Ruffin parts, the vocals in the movie. You
Oh
don't
my.
see him, but they used to, yeah. So he was amazing. So I put the whole show together, and I'm one of those people who I like a total experience. So I didn't have the budget to do all the lights and all that, but we sure came looking the parts, formal attire,
I bet.
full band, the whole 9 yards, because I wanted a very classy show. And the show was amazing. Everybody who attended, they're still talking about it. I keep running into people all the time who I didn't know were there. Just a couple days ago, my brother introduced me to someone, and she says, "Oh yeah, I was at your concert," and she went on about it. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
How did you? Oh, that is fabulous, Deborah. That. What about the band? How did you assemble the band that you played with?
So the band, that was not an easy feat because you're talking about Burt Bacharach music.
Oh, another of my favorite that my
Yes,
parents
you're
had.
talking about Burt Bacharach music, and so I've been working with a lot of bands for years. As a matter of fact, even when I wasn't singing, I was always hiring bands because I was always putting on events. And I did a lot of searching because here's the thing: the ones who were really good, the musicians who were really good, who could read music, they were booked. So it was a lot of kind of like running between raindrops trying to find the right musicians to do it.
Sure.
But I ended up settling on a band out of Cleveland. The One of the members, he plays on a regular for Babyface,
Oh,
and the other guys, they don't play for Babyface, but they're all in that kind of rank. So it was great musicians. And the funny thing though was some of the guys were younger, and like two of them had never heard of Dionne Warwick, or I don't know if you know the song Deja Vu was written by Isaac Hayes.
yes, I did. I was looking that up
They
when you.
never heard of Isaac Hayes. It was like, how
Oh,
dare,
oh
but
my God.
but they could read, and so we were able to work through it and pull it off. And then since then, it's really been amazing because since then, different people have come to the fore. I now have a great relationship with, I didn't know it at the time, but a gentleman named Bill Jolly, who actually won an Emmy for the documentary Don't Make Me Over.
Oh
He
my
was the
God.
arranger and producer. And when I got him, I was doing a concert in Philly this past January, and so the booking agent helped me with pulling a band together. So she gives me the name of the band. You'll love this story. She gives me the name of the band, and I'm Googling, but I'm not coming. Sometimes you got to know where you're looking. So
Right.
I came up with some stuff, but nothing particular really sticking out. So here's what happens. I've got this show. It's going to be January the 17th, 2025 at City Winery in Philly. All right. So I take my phone and I make a little video and I say, hey, Philadelphia, I'm going to be coming to Philly on such and so day at the winery. Hope you'll join me. Oh, and the other thing I did was, you're familiar with Russell Tompkins' Stylistics.
Yes.
Bet You By Golly Wow, all those songs. Russell, that is Russell's voice. Well, Russell has done my show, and so we become great friends. So I call Russell and I say, listen, I don't know people in Philly. I don't know, if I've got fans from the TV show in Philly. So I'm going to be coming there to do this concert. Would you be willing to join me on stage? His exact words were, anything for you, Debórah.
Oh.
So, yes. So they had agreed to join me on stage. So now, okay, so I got Russell and I've got the Bill Jolly band. Remember this Bill Jolly? I don't know yet. I do this little thing with my phone, and Russell Tompkins Jr. of the Stylistics and the Stylistics are going to be joining me on stage. Da, 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 da. I get a phone call from a guy out of Florida whom I hadn't talked to in I don't know when. He calls me and he says, Debórah, I just saw the video that you posted for the Philly gig online. I said, yeah. He said, I want you to take it down. Now, I didn't know that this guy wrote scripts. He said, I want you to take it down and I want you to trust me. I'm writing you a script. Wow. My husband and I were out grocery shopping when I got the message. We were trying to dodge a blizzard that was coming. So right. I couldn't even give it a whole lot of attention, but I had been praying that God would send me people who could do things so I didn't have to do everything myself. So I just stepped out on faith and I said, okay. He said, I want you to re-record the promo with the script I give you.
Right.
Home from the grocery store. I get made up. I take the script. I don't even read it. I load it into my teleprompter. And then I've got a virtual studio in my house. And I go in the studio. Now I'm about to record it. So I'm reading this script. The script says 3-time Emmy Award winning Bill Jolly. And I was like, oh, who I got. So then now I'm doing the script and I'm thinking, well, I can't just throw this up with just my face. So now I'm Googling and pulling up pictures, and I'm going to have Russell's, the Stylistics picture in there, but I need to put Bill Jolly's in there too. So now I'm doing research. That's when I'm looking and I see this like an album jacket, but it's not an album. It was a poster. That's what it was.
Right.
The Don't Make Me Over documentary. Bill Jolly, Emmy Award winning arranger producer for that. I'm like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Needless to say. And then the other thing I found out, Bill Jolly and his band had played for Dionne forever.
Oh.
And yeah. So needless to say, that was amazing. It was just, that show was so wonderful. And the audience, oh my goodness, I can still feel that audience. That audience was so with me. It was amazing.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, my God, Debórah, this is amazing what has happened with this so far, especially because you've loved her music. What is it about Dionne Warwick's music that gets you right here in your heart?
So, and it's so funny. I think I heard her say this, and I was thinking about it today while I was going to and fro. I think I heard her say in an interview some time ago, they asked her what was her favorite song. And I think she said something like, whichever one I'm singing. Steve, honest to goodness, I have a very healthy repertoire of her music. And I can't find a favorite song. It literally is whichever one I'm singing at the time. But I'll tell you what her music does for me. And initially, I thought it was the trio, her and Bert, Bacharach and Hal David. But I find that no, it's her, because it doesn't matter. The Barry Manilow music, I'll Never Love This Way Again. What we were talking about earlier, the Beatles music.
Yes.
She is so mesmerizing.
She is.
And whatever, here's the thing, her music is so captivating. I think that's what it is. Because, even especially now in today's climate, there's so much going on. We're so inundated with so much. But when I put on anything by Dionne Warwick, it's like everything else is gone. Everything else just kind of disappears. You know what my biggest challenge is in the day now? and hopefully nobody that goes to the school I work at is going to hear this. I tutor a few days a week. My biggest challenge, honest to goodness, my biggest challenge every day, because I'm listening to the music from the time I get in my car till I pull up and have to go in the building, is getting out of the car.
Oh,
and some days I refuse to, it's about integrity, so I won't let myself be late. But I'm telling you, it's if I got Dionne on and I'm
stay.
sitting there, yeah, I don't want to get out of the car. Can't I just stay here for another half hour?
Right. Well, that's spectacular. And again, when I first heard about you, and what you were doing with this, again, that music has meant so much to me too. 64 years old now, so growing up in the 60s, and her music. I mean, walk on by. I just saw her singing at "We Are the World,"
Yes.
and that the other day when I saw the clip of it, and I'm like, that's right, she did that too. I think this is spectacular. Tell me what's going on with Deja Vu right now.
So right now I've got a couple more concerts on the books, and I'll tell you, I know you're not supposed to say things before they're locked in stone, but you know what? I changed my mantra. I can only live in the moment that I'm in. And I
Yes.
decided for all those years that I was producing the TV show and doing nothing else, and I kept thinking, well, when the show does this, when the show does that, then I'll celebrate. I never did. So I'm not doing that anymore. Right now, the things that are in front of me, I don't know if they're going to come to fruition, but right now they're in front of me, so I'm celebrating them now.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. At work I just take time and all through my coffee break time I say a little bit for you. If you ever should say goodbye, it would be so awful. The angels would cry. You never get to heaven, you break my heart. Just like me, they long to be close to you.
I'm scheduled for a concert. I just finished a wonderful concert Sunday in Alliance, Ohio at the DeYor Performing Arts Center.
Oh God, that's
And
great.
a lot of people were hitting me up. It's all over Facebook, and it's really been just the clips have been doing wild. And a lot of people have been hitting me up. A musician texted me about an hour ago and said, how was the concert? And I said, best one yet. It's like it just gets better and better.
Oh.
But anyway, so that was on Sunday. And then I wasn't the only one on the show. I did a half-hour set, and that audience, they were so with me, especially the women. They were singing all the lyrics and everything. And even like somebody sent me some videos, and you can see people just rocking in their seat, no matter what the song was.
Oh yeah, I would have been going wild when I'm seeing you, and I hope I get to do that. Your next one is what is the next one? The next one is going to be
so Massillon, Ohio is Saturday, July the 12th at the Lions Lincoln Theater, and then I have another one in September. September the 14th. It's a Sunday at the Pittsburgh City Winery.
ooh.
And then, so here's the other thing that's going on that's not written in stone yet.
Okay.
And that is, I'm actually working with a couple other factions. One is I got contacted by a guy named Danny Clay, his manager. So let me tell you who Danny Clay is.
Yes.
Danny Clay was discovered by Steve Harvey.
Oh.
And he went around. Danny Clay was discovered by Steve Harvey as the best Luther Vandross tribute artist anywhere.
Oh.
Steve blew him up. Danny's been all over the world singing to sold out houses from Europe to South Africa, literally.
I bet.
Then Tyler Perry got him. And so he's been in some of Tyler Perry's sitcoms with, I think, House of Pain. And I've seen him in those. So Easter night, I'm chilling out with hubby. We're watching a movie. My phone rings. It's a woman who is the manager for Danny Clay. She saw my videos and she said she would love to put a Luther and Dionne show together.
Oh.
So we are currently working on a Christmas special for Atlanta, Georgia for that.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's one thing. But the other thing is, I got contacted by an orchestra conductor. She was interested in the Dionne thing, and then I told her about the Luther thing as well, and they loved it. So now we are actually in talks to try to put that on. And if so, that's going to be in the tri-state area of New York, either New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh.
And wait, one
Yes.
more thing. I just got email from the company that's pressing, I guess you'd say pressing or burning my disc. I just finished producing a CD. It's called Deja Vu Tribute to Dionne Warwick.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Really?
a 10-song CD. So here's the funny thing about that. I had actually started working on this last year. And so I'd gotten the artwork done and we were still in the studio working on the music. So finally, the music is almost finished with all the mastering and everything. And I'm looking at this CD cover and I'm thinking, let me just check one more thing. So I thankfully have made friends with some people. I've never met Dionne myself, but I made some friends with people in her camp. For example, her publicist, who's been her publicist for 40 years.
Right. Is that Angello Ellerby?
That's it. You know Angelo?
Well, I think I knew the name, but I read what she said about you as a friend and a publicist of Dionne Warwick and saying you were spectacular. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God.
So I reached out to Angelo because he talks to Dionne every day. I reached out to Angelo and I said, I'm finishing up this CD project. And so I had titled it Deja Vu, a tribute to Miss Warwick. I said, but now I'm looking at it, should I say a tribute to Dionne or a tribute to Miss Warwick? And his response was, why not both? A tribute to Dionne Warwick. So I said, well, doesn't that sound so, what was the word I used? Something meaning like what you hear all the time. And I may have said ordinary or something to that effect. And he said, well, he said, there's plenty of Dionnes out there. You want to be distinct in identifying exactly which Dionne you're talking about. So I thought, well, there it is. So it is Deja Vu, tribute to Dionne Warwick. Uh-huh. Debórah, Deja Vu, tribute to Dionne Warwick. This is my very first CD project. It's a 10-song CD, all songs by Dionne Warwick, recorded by little old me, Debórah. And I can't wait to get this to market. So congratulations to me.
Spectacular. See, Debórah, what I'm in my head, what's going, again, I'm very involved in the music world, music journalism and stuff like that, and singing stuff like that. But I know the tribute things that happen and are happening today are hugely successful and hugely sought after. I'm thinking you could tour the world with this thing. Isn't
that's the goal. That's the goal and the desire.
Yes.
One of the things that I learned early on was because, I've worked with a lot of tribute artists. In fact, I went to Australia for a month. So here's fun. This is funny. So I told you 2019, GC
Right.
calls and says, work on this. So within a couple months of that, another guy out of Vegas calls me and says, listen, I'm working with this tribute group and we've got a contract in Australia. We do it every year, but it's supposed to be 4 men and 4 women, and we're missing one of our women. She's working. Would you be willing to do it? So here's the thing, Steve, like this is no fly queen right here. I have managed to fly, but I'm not a big traveler. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah, me neither.
So, and I really had not gone anywhere. In fact, when I started my TV show, everybody had to come here because, well, the studio is here. I just had not traveled. So here, now I got to rush and get a passport. So I'm doing all this rushing. I don't even have time. I don't have time to be scared because I had like 2 to 3 weeks to get everything together. So I go, of all things, never been anywhere. And then I go to Australia for a whole month.
Oh, God.
So it was a Motown tribute show. And I'm paying attention to everything. I'm like, okay, the first thing I noticed was in the group, there were 4 men, 4 women. Actually, and I don't mean this in a braggadocious way at all, but in terms of name recognition, I had more name recognition than anybody else in the group. They just weren't known. And I don't mean it like mine is a huge name because it's not, but I just mean, but so I'm looking at this But here's the thing, no name recognition, and yet we were performing to sold out houses every night. Often the tickets were sold way before we got there. So I'm paying attention to all this and I'm thinking, there's a lot to be learned here. So I'm just taking notes. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with the things I'm learning. All I know is, okay, I'm just paying attention to everything. Like, how did I end up here? So I'm there for a month. Check this out. We leave the States February 15th. We get 2020. We get back March 15th, 2020. March 16th, they lock everything down because of COVID.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I go into my little room here, my music room at the house, and I take everything I've learned, and now I'm just working. But yeah, it's been a wild journey. I'm just getting started. I'm loving it, and I know that as I matriculate and more people see, my videos and performances, that my audience is going to grow, and I'm going to get more gigs. I already know that.
Oh, Debórah, I can't imagine you're not going to. There are so many wonderful venues in the DC area where I've lived for close to 30 years. And there are places that there is actually one called the State Theater that has largely 99% of what they do is tributes. And it is a wonderful theater. Again, I think once you get this rolling, you're not gonna have any problem with venues everywhere, but it just depends on how it's going. One thing I wanted people to hear, and it's Angello Ellerby, which again, a publicist for 40 plus years of Dionne Warwick, a friend of his, and he says she is the most reminiscent of Dionne than anyone else I've heard. I mean, loved and studied her life, and you're reminiscent of her. And do you think that there's going to be a time, or are you wishing that you could talk to Dionne Warwick?
Are you kidding? I mean, like, my goodness, absolutely yes. And here's the crazy thing. I have had encounters where it was so ridiculous that it didn't happen. First one was some years ago, she came to Youngstown. My husband bought us tickets for my birthday. I'd never seen her before in person. God. So this was about maybe 8 or 9 years ago. So we go to the concert. When it's over, I managed to get backstage, and she is as close to me as your face is to me right now on the screen. But the people who were handling her, they were kind of moving her along. So my husband, he was hoping that he'd be able to get a shot with me and her. I even had her book, and I knew I was the only person in the audience who had that book. And I'm going to autograph the book. And let me show you how crazy I am. Even before that, when that book first came out, it was her biography. I not only bought the book, read the book, and then I went to the publishers until I found contact information on the writer. And so I'm friends with him now. He came to my concert in January. It's so crazy. So anyway, so here she is. My husband gets a picture, and her iconic hairdo.
Yes.
It's super gray. So you see the back of her and my face. So that was one. Then a couple years ago, about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, GC Cameron calls and tells us he's going to be honored at an event in Detroit. So we go to support him. We take camera equipment so we can capture it. I did not know Dionne Warwick was going to be receiving an honor at this same event.
Oh, God.
We realized that now I'm losing my mind. Well, listen to this. So I'm running camera. Both my husband and I are camera people, but I actually trained him. So when I'm close, and I definitely want to get the shots I want. So I'm running camera. I notice my battery is going low. He goes out to the car to get another battery, and who does he run into waiting for her car on the sidewalk? I was mad at him.
Really? How did you get to see her? No.
Yes, he comes in, he says, "You won't believe." And he tells me, and I said, well, what did you say to her? I said, "Oh, we really love you." I'm like, "We really? Come on," So I was so done. Right. And then when I did the show in January, Angello was hoping to get her to that show, which is why we actually chose that date. The agent had given us a few dates. I got on the phone with Angello because he wanted to get her to the show, because he was hoping that he'd just bring us together and just see what could come of it. Well, we chose the date he wanted us to. About 6 weeks before then, Angelo got really, really sick. He was
Oh,
in the hospital for weeks. And then, of course, when he got out, he still couldn't travel. So here's what I did. After all of those mishaps, I said, you know what? When God means for me to meet her, I will meet. Oh, I left one biggie out. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in September 2024.
right.
I'm 1 hour away from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I get with Angelo. He's supposed to make arrangements for me to interview her at the
Oh,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We load the equipment up into the vehicle. We get there plenty of time. Some kind of way, we weren't on the credentials clearance list. So I was like, it was like so many missteps that I couldn't get upset. It was like, okay, you know what? Apparently God ain't ready for this to happen yet. And so I just need to chill, stay in my lane, stay focused, and listen, you got this story here. So when it happens,
right.
I'll be hitting it. Steve, guess what happened?
Oh my God, that is spectacular. Debórah, I'm going to wish you the very best with this continuing to go along.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not only performing, but meeting her would be wonderful one day, and I'm sure she would be elated, and already is, I bet, in some way. I've got to believe it because you are so unique with doing this. Let's keep in close touch on where this is going. Because, man, if it comes to DC someday, I know it's traveling from
Oh,
all.
listen, but I'm okay now because my husband said he's got this expression: when the pain of not doing becomes greater than the pain of doing, then you'll go ahead and do.
Right.
So I'm ready to go wherever I need to.
Well, we got to keep in close touch on how this is going. And again,
Absolutely.
that music it's Herb Alpert is another one who I loved that my parents had
Yeah,
numerous albums. And then
phenomenal horn player.
7 or 8 years ago, I interviewed him myself, and it was
Oh,
one of the greatest experiences. And I've had a lot of them with people, but it's that music that gets into your heart real early, and then you get a chance to talk to these people. But I'm wishing you the very best with Deja Vu, continued success with everything else you're doing, and thanks for being on Living on Music.
listen, and thanks for having me. This was a joy.
Yay. Well, we're going
And
to keep it.
listen, real quick,
Sure.
anytime I'm in your area, you let me know. You got tickets.
Oh, well, gosh, that is wonderful. My dad grew up in Dayton, so and I
Oh
haven't been back in Ohio for a while, but it's a state that's really near my heart, thanks to him. But good luck with everything. Let's keep in close touch on everything, and maybe there's a time when, as you're performing, I'll walk on by.
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Keep
Oh, that was good. That was good, Steve.
keep in touch.